Tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans took to the streets Wednesday, calling for the resignation of Governor Ricardo Rosselló following the leak of a series of sexist and violent text messages between the governor and members of his cabinet that included jokes about victims of Hurricane Maria. While the protests were largely peaceful, for a second straight night, police in San Juan tear-gassed demonstrators and made multiple arrests. Protests also took place here in New York City, where hundreds gathered in Union Square Park. Melissa, can you talk about your response when you learned of these chats? I mean, you yourself were targeted.
Well, listen, you know what? This is an incredibly difficult moment for us as Puerto Ricanos and those of us that are watching what is happening to the island. I see a lot of similarities with what is happening with the Rosselló administration, with what is happening under the Trump administration. What I do see very differently is the response from the people. We have literally 100,000 people in Puerto Rico yesterday. That would be the equivalent of 300,000 people marching in New York City. This is massive. This is probably the largest, and there's some initial reports saying it may have been the largest mobilization of people in Puerto Rican history, right? So the attacks against me, I don't take them personally. The attacks against me were attacks against every woman, were attacks against Puerto Rico. Those of us who believe in equality and justice and inclusion were literally attacked on that day. And what was expressed in that chat, and I thank you, Amy, for saying it. I mean, people talk about it as profanity laden. No, it's misogynistic. It is homophobic language. These are people
attacking
that are
Ricky Martin.
Right, attacking Ricky Martin, It's very pervasive, and these people are leading the island, making sure that policies are being implemented, budgets are being passed, issues are being addressed, and they are talking in such violent, vile language. So people have rebelled. People are saying this is not representative of who we are. We reject this resoundingly. Yesterday was a clear indication of that, and that the governor has no other option but then to resign. And that is in the best interest of Puerto Rico. If he truly does care, and he says that he cares about the people of Puerto Rico and his island, then he needs to resign in the best interest of all Puerto Ricans. In the chat, what was also divulged was that government resources, one, were being used against opponents. Sound familiar? It was going after the press for negative coverage. Sound familiar? So there's probably criminal conspiracy here. The other one that was revealed was that they were going after the federal monitor. The police department has a federal monitor in place because of past practices of abuse. And they were going after and utilizing resources of the government to attack and undermining the work of the federal monitor, which now demonstrates, I believe, that now the police department is closing ranks with the governor, right? So this is really serious in terms of what has been revealed in the chat. Also pay to play, sound familiar? Utilizing government resources to benefit those that supported your campaign. A lot of similarities, again, with what we're witnessing here with the Trump administration, right? And so what has changed, what is very different is that the fact that people are on the streets, people are protesting and saying, we don't accept this, we need this governor to resign. And so the pressure, I think, is going to get overwhelming. And so that's critically important. And I think that we've arrived. And the last thing I'll say, as those of us in the diaspora that are leaders and are working to raise, support and build coalitions to support Puerto Rico, our job obviously has gotten a lot tougher. But we have to close ranks and make sure that we continue to support Puerto Rico, because there is a real conversation. The Trump administration has been hostile to Puerto Rico, has used any opportunity to try to withdraw and take away funds that have been designated for Puerto Rico. And there's already conversations within the Republicans to figure out how they can put more barriers to the receiving of these funds. And then the other thing, those of us that are working to mobilize communities to come out and vote, we need our Democratic leadership to step up and support and speak to the Puerto Rican people. This is a historic moment for us. And so if we want to mobilize the Puerto Rican community in Florida, if we want to mobilize the Puerto Rican community that votes in primaries on the island, we do need the support and solidarity of the Democratic leadership. And I think that that's something that definitely we would like to see.